Good afternoon. I'm Gael Sylvia and you are watching SylviaGlobal.com. My special guest today is Amina Doherty from London, and thank you for being here, Amina. Let's talk about your organization, FRIDA, the Feminist Women's Fund.
Thank you so much for having me. So as you said, I am the coordinator of FRIDA, which is a young feminist fund. It is a fund led by young women under 30, and it would provide grants to young women and transgender youth under 30 working globally. And really the idea for the fund came about 3 years ago now, but we've been working full-time on the fund for about a year now. And
Who's
really,
we?
So I should have said, the idea for the fund really came out through an organization called AWID, which is the Association for Women's Rights and Development. And AWID has a young feminist activist program, and so the young feminists that are engaged in that initiative, in that program, you know, began to question ways that they could be more engaged in grant making and in philanthropy, but also thinking about mobilizing more resources to support the work that they've been doing. And so AWID really stood behind the sort of setting up of the Young Feminist Fund. And we work collaboratively also with the Central American Women's Fund, which is based in Nicaragua. So when you think about this idea of multi-generational, intergenerational partnerships, I think the way we were set up really reflects that.
And international.
Exactly.
Who are your co-coordinators?
So I work with a group of 8 young women that are based around the world. We have advisors based in Nairobi and in Beirut, in Kuala Lumpur. We have an advisor that's based in New Jersey, which is the advisor that's based in the US. Also in Mexico City, in Tbilisi in Georgia, so in Central and Eastern Europe. But you can see it's a broad mix of different kinds of people and the experiences they have, both within grant-making organizations, but also as youth leaders in and of themselves, setting up their own initiatives and doing various things. How
do people find you in order to apply for funding? How do organizations?
Well, we have a growing online presence, and so we actually share information about the call for proposals on our website, but also through the various networks that we're part of. So through the AWID network, also through the Global Fund for Women, and other existing women's funds have been really good in sharing the information. We launched our first call for proposals at the end of last year.
How many did you get?
We got close to 1,000 applications from 120 countries, which I think really speaks to the fact that young feminist organizations are out there and they're working, and they do need support. Unfortunately, we were only able to support about 20 groups in our first call, but I think being able to say, look, there are so many more groups out there, and if we had more resources, we would be able to support more of this work.
20 is not a small number in and of itself. That's quite effective for the first year as well.
Exactly. And so the grants that we provide are about $5,000, some a little less. And it's sort of based on what we think the groups can absorb, because a number of the groups are newly emerging groups. About 80% of the groups that applied to us were groups that were founded in 2011 or early 2010. And you can see they're very young organizations that probably would not get support from any other sort of donor, because you have to have, you have to be willing to, willing to risk putting resources and putting support into these groups that are just getting off their feet, just getting started, and really beginning to come into their activism. So
you feel that you're being effective?
Well, I think so. We're just giving out our first cycle of grants, and so we're just in the process of making those grants now. So hopefully, in collaboration with the groups, we will be able to do some very successful grant making.
In closing, how can our viewers support you?
Oh, there are many ways. We're always looking for volunteers and supporters. As a truly global fund, we try and ensure that all of our material is translated in at least 5 languages, so in English, French, Russian, Spanish, and Arabic. So if translating is your thing, we definitely need you to support. But just getting the word out there, posting it on blogs, sharing it on Facebook, on Twitter, and really just supporting us with our resource mobilization efforts. That's a big part.
And your website address?
It's www.youngfeministfund.org.
Amina Doherty, thank you for being with us today on SylviaGlobal.com.
Thank you
so
much.
happy to put a face with that lovely voice.
Thank you so much
for
having
here.
me.